Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says military operations in Rafah must stop now that the International Court of Justice, ICJ, has ordered Israel to halt its offensive in the southern Gaza city. Speaking to reporters at a press conference on Friday, the Prime Minister repeated Canada's call for a ceasefire and for Hamas to release the hostages it took on October 7th. There also must be no more military operations in Rafah by Israel, and certainly no escalation of military operations in Rafah, Trudeau said in response to a question about Friday's court ruling. The ICJ's proposals are binding, and we expect everyone to follow them as a matter of international law. The ICJ decision sent a three-part message to Israel by ordering the country to halt the Rafah offensive, to allow war crimes investigators access to Gaza, and to immediately increase humanitarian aid into the region. While Israel is unlikely to comply with the order, which resulted from an appeal by South Africa, the order could ratchet up pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu's government. ICJ President Nawaf Salam, describing the humanitarian situation in Rafah as exceptionally grave, read the ruling as a small group of pro-Palestinian protesters demonstrated outside the court in The Hague. Although the court has broad powers to order an end to the Israeli military campaign, it does not have a police force to enforce its orders. Russia, for example, has ignored a ruling from the same court to halt its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Attacks on October 7th in southern Israel, led by Hamas, considered a terrorist group by several Western nations, including Canada, killed around 1,200 people. Several of the dead were Canadian citizens. Israel's offensive since the war began has killed more than 35,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry, and has caused a humanitarian crisis and near-famine conditions. For months, Israel has been saying, and BSP Rafah is Hamas's last major stronghold and has been vowing to invade, even as several allies have warned an all-out assault would spell disaster. Benny Gantz, a member and BSPF Israel's war cabinet, indicated his country's military won't change its course in Rafah despite the ICJ order. The State of Israel is committed to continue fighting to return its hostages and promise the security of its citizens wherever and whenever necessary, including in Rafah, Gantz said. Trudeau raised concerns about the humanitarian implications of a Rafah offensive in a phone call with Gantz in March. The Prime Minister also issued a joint statement with his Australian and New Zealand counterparts in February and NBS purging Israel to avoid operations in the South Gaza city. Rafah is in the southernmost part of the Gaza Strip, on the border with Egypt. More than 1 million people sought refuge there in recent months after fleeing fighting elsewhere. Many of them are living in teeming tent camps. Israel started issuing evacuation orders about 2 weeks ago as it began operations on the edge of the city, but the court concluded those evacuation and humanitarian plans were not sufficient. Since then, the army says an estimated 1 million people have left as its forces press deeper inside. Rafah is also home to a critical crossing for aid, and the UN says the flow of aid reaching it has plunged since the incursion began, though commercial trucking has continued to enter Gaza. Kindly like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section.